go on vacation at Disney World and that with everyone else. Because the reason that these bases are built is probably the main driver. I mean, look at the resources that they would have to marshal in order to build something underwater like that. The raw materials had to come from somewhere. The equipment had to come from somewhere. The money to build it had to come from somewhere. And the big question is, why? Why, when you could live perfectly well in Miami, would you want to live thousands of feet below the water off the coast of Puerto Rico? There has to be a good answer to that question. What's going to happen to the surface of the Earth?
If you were from off of the planet, you might not want to live in downtown Miami. You might want to live away from the madness of a large American city. Now, as for why, if you were human from this current civilization, why would you want to build an undersea base? There are several reasons I could think of. The military would have its own reasons for having secret deep-sea submarine bases, for example, where they could take their crews and submarines and pool them in for weeks or months at a time, and relative safety, security, and comfort. Another reason that I run across in the literature might be to make clandestine nuclear missile bases thousands of feet undersea. And there again, that would be done for reasons of security, and also to have another arm, offensive arm for fighting nuclear war in the event that there would be a nuclear war. In the book Silent War by John Pena Craven, who was the U.S. Navy's chief officer for their undersea warfare capability during the Cold War, Edward Teller, the father of the American H-bomb, asked John or discussed John Pena Craven putting nuclear missiles in silos in the seafloor 20,000 feet down, and doing that in glass nuclear missile silos, because glass, under very great pressure, such as you find in an extreme deep-sea environment, has extraordinary structural strength, far stronger than structural steel.
Sure.
So those would be two examples. Another example would be, for mining precious metals or other expensive commodities like uranium or plutonium or platinum or gold or other rare earth metals, for example, which have a tremendous value, strategic value for industry, for the military, for commerce. And I can imagine if there were groups coming from off the planet who needed these materials, you might be able to exchange them for technology or information and do this very secretly. For example, if you might hypothetically have a joint terrestrial, extraterrestrial, subsea mining facility. So those are the types of things you might do, considerations that might come into play. And if your only interest was to make money and you were an industrial tycoon, suppose you had your own private deep-sea plutonium mine or uranium mine that you could sell on the black market internationally to the highest bidder, or you had your own private gold mine or platinum mine. Imagine the kind of fortune you could make for that. Millions, maybe even billions of dollars. So that would be another reason for doing that. Other reasons that I have found in the literature are for scientific research. You could use such an installation for doing geological research or oceanographic research, or research perhaps related to that NASA might find of value or interest for long-term space voyages. You could also use such a facility for an extremely secure command, control, and communication center for industry, for government, for the military. You could use such a facility for an extremely secure diplomatic base where extremely powerful or high-profile individuals, whether in government or industry or high finance, could go and meet in complete secrecy and tremendous security without anyone knowing where they were or what they were doing.
Well, you could also consider the idea that Earth is pretty rare in our solar system for sure, but also in our corner of the galaxy. To be able to live on the surface of a planet, you have to have a very strong magnetosphere to protect you from the electromagnetic radiation from your sun. You've got to have the right temperature so that water is liquid. You've got to have the right oxygen content. These kinds of conditions are pretty rare. And you can't just travel space until you find a suitable planet. It might be out of the way. I would think most societies, most civilizations don't live on the surface of their worlds. They live inside their worlds. They live under the surface of their worlds. And so if a race were to come here to our planet, they might not be suitable or suited for existing on the surface of the world where the temperature does all these wild extremes, where there are microbes multiplying by the trillions in all kinds of mutations, which would wipe out your race. It's wiped out a lot of our race from time to time. So it would make sense that they would create a somewhat sterile, isolated environment underneath the sea, away from the turmoils and conflicts, be they biological or social, on the surface of the world. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I don't know what the value systems would be of groups coming from off the world. I don't know what their biology might be. I don't know what their psychology might be. I don't know what their social or political or spiritual motivations might be. I don't know what their military agenda may be, if they have one. And I don't know what kind of alliances they might have, if any, with other entities or organizations or life forms on this planet or on other planets, in this galaxy or in other galaxies. You see, what we don't know, the things we don't know vastly exceed what we do know. So I don't know enough to really speculate intelligently about their motives or thought process. I only can say that certainly they will be different than we are, and most likely very different. Hence, they will be alien in many regards to us. And all I can say is they're likely to be bizarre, not necessarily malevolent, although some of them may be, I don't know. But it does seem that they are here. Ivan T. Sanderson wrote a series of very interesting books decades ago. One of them was entitled Uninvited Residents. And in that book, he dealt explicitly with this very question that, and the book is about, I think, 50 years old, something like that. It's a classic. In that book, he dealt with this very question that over many years, repeatedly, these UFOs or USOs have been seen coming and going to and from this planet's seas, oceans, rivers, and lakes. One of the places he mentioned this has been observed with some frequency is Lake Erie, right here in the northeastern part of North America. And if you look at the geology underlying Lake Erie, it's really very favorable for tunneling and for making underground facilities. In this case, an underwater facility. Let me tell you why. There is a stratum of rock salt underlying a large area in the Great Lakes region, including under a large part of Lake Erie. In fact, there are hundreds of miles of tunnels that go out from beneath the Cleveland area and go out under Lake Erie. Something on the order of 400 miles of these
Wow.
have been excavated Yes, and they're about 1,700 feet down. So for years and years, there has been commercial mining of rock salt way deep below Lake Erie. This is offshore from Cleveland. So what I'm telling you is it would be compared to child's play for the Pentagon or any competent mining company in the United States to make a undersea base beneath Lake Erie. You don't have to posit exotic alien technology from light years away to make an underwater base beneath Lake Erie, because there are mining companies right here in the United States with the technological capability to do that, to tunnel out under Lake Erie. And there are men working under Lake Erie deep underground and have been for years.
Yeah, and it's geologically quite stable.
Yeah, so the question is there a secret undersea base of the science fiction-like sort beneath Lake Erie? Now, I have been told that there is, but people can tell you all kinds of things. What I can say is, number one, is it technologically feasible to make an undersea base beneath Lake Erie? The answer to that is yes, easily. Secondly, have UFOs been seen coming to and from the waters of Lake Erie? Yes, many times over the years. Have I been told there is a secret undersea base, underwater base beneath Lake Erie? Yes. I did a radio show a couple of weeks ago where a man called in and said just that. He was from that area of the country, and he said there is a secret base beneath Lake Erie. Can I prove there is such a base? No. But if there are any people listening to this program who can, call in. We'd certainly like to hear from whistleblowers, and contact me.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Let's go ahead and announce the phone numbers right now. If you're off planet, if you can get to a cell phone tower, it's 530-413-4511. East of Earth, it's 530-413-4515. And west of Earth, 530-413-4520. Also, if you're going to leave during the broadcast tonight, you can listen to us live with your cell phone. Just call the number 712-432-0075. Put in the access code 318-116-pound, 318-116-pound, and you can listen to the entire broadcast via your cell phone. No problem. Just put your Bluetooth in and you can listen to us live. If you've got any information about underground bases under the sea of Lake Erie or anywhere else around the planet, we definitely want you to call in tonight and provide us some information if you found an opening. Now, I got to tell you, I was surfing a little bit today in preparation for the program, and I found a very interesting set of slides from someone who had used Google Earth on an area called the Dragon's Triangle. And he zoomed down, and I was pretty amazed. In the Dragon's Triangle, which looks to be about 2 miles long by a quarter of a mile wide, there are 4 or